Welcome to Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the second game of our doubleheader, college softball doubleheader here at the Girls with Game Classic. Penn State and Army West Point taking the field for the second game. Our first game was Maryland and Bucknell. Maryland won that game 4-0. Thanks for tuning in. It's a big day here in Williamsport. A little bit dreary, a little bit cold, but we're excited to be playing softball. This is a unique streaming opportunity. We will give you a little bit of play-by-play, but more so we're going to talk about what we have going on here in our softball program and our female initiative at Little League. So hopefully you'll want to hear about it. If you're here for play-by-play, you should probably just turn down the volume and watch the stream. But we're going to do our best and have you watch a good game and listen to some information about Little League. I'm Nina Johnson-Pitt, our Senior Strategy Executive at Little League. And starting out the broadcast, I am joined by Liz DeLulo-Brown, Chief Marketing Officer and SVP for Little League. Thanks for stopping by, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into what we're going to talk about, we should probably just announce the who's starting in a couple places for the game. So Penn State is our home team, and in the circle for Penn State, Bridget Nemeth. And our leadoff batter for Army is Lauren Little, number 22, playing shortstop. So we're going to pay attention to the game, but more so I want to share and talk about some great stuff we have going on at Little League when it comes to female participation. So, Liz, you've worked really hard over your entire tenure at Little League, and especially over the last couple of years, to really help elevate females in our program. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first I would say we have all worked really hard to elevate the opportunities for girls to play, for females to get involved, coach, volunteer. And so really beginning next year, kicking off kind of our 50th anniversary of girls in the program, we have some really big celebrations coming up. Started a number of years ago with Girls with Game, a campaign that we launched around Women's History Month to really focus on girl opportunities, but this is going to be a big year in 2024.
So Little records the first out of the game for Army West Point, and Ellie Caldwell steps in the box, and as she takes a couple pitches here, you're right, we've all worked really hard, but we can't, you really have been a catalyst for it. You've were one of the first female executives at Little League and have always fought really hard to have a seat at the table to ensure that all women and girls in the program were a priority. So from where I sit, I thank you for that, and thanks for bringing us along to help kind of join the team and really start to elevate. So 2024 is a huge year for us, 50th anniversary of girls being able to play Little League, and so will also be the 50th anniversary of the Little League Softball World Series. And you've also been a really big advocate for the Softball World Series. You spent a couple years down in Greenville now. Maybe tell me a little bit about what Greenville was like this year.
Oh, Greenville is amazing. Mm-hmm. I can describe Greenville now probably much better than when I was in it, and I just say Greenville has a glow that is not replicatable anywhere else. And it comes from an amazing city that we're in, from an amazing group of volunteers that we have engaged with us and have committed to making it a success. And then obviously the experiences we've created for the participants and their families and everyone that kind of surrounds the event just has created this atmosphere that is just second to none. And then adding the Athletes Unlimited games as a complement to the event just showed how powerful this sport can be and the opportunities for players can be to dream and to see what's possible.
We're at 2 outs here now in the top of the first. Taylor Brown steps up to the plate. Ooh. Lines a shot right at first base. That was great amazing reaction time, that catch on first base. So quick top of the first for Army, 3 up, 3 down. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Liz Brown. Welcome back to Williamsport for the second game of our doubleheader between Army West Point and Penn State. Bottom of the second, we have a Little Leaguer on the mound for Army. I'm here with Liz Brown. My name is Nina Johnson-Pitt. Quick out there for a former Little Leaguer, Olivia Ferris, on the mound. So, Liz, before the break, we were talking a little bit about the Little League World Series in Greenville and some of the just what it was like to be there. And you mentioned the Athletes Unlimited Pro Games, which If you tuned into the last broadcast, we talked about, we were with Tori Vidalis, who plays for Athletes Unlimited, and she shared some of her experience. But maybe from your perspective, having been there the year before without the pro games and now this year with the pro games, how did that dynamic change the Little League Softball World Series?
Well, I would start by talking about just the partnership quickly with Athletes Unlimited, and it began in 2020 when Little League didn't have any of our World Series because of the pandemic. And Athletes Unlimited that season, that first season for them for softball, was a bright spot in our year, given everything that was happening. So having a special event come to Greenville last year was like nothing we've ever seen. The year before it was amazing. We did a lot of great things for the girls, but we just elevated the experience in a way that we had never done before at any of our events other than Williamsport with the MLB Little League Classic. So it was a comparable opportunity.
Sure. So Haley Brunson just cranked a nice deep triple to center field there, so she's on third. Penn State has one out here with her on third. So we for the first time brought a professional softball game to the Little League Softball World Series, which we wanted to do because for years we've been doing the MLB Little League Classic at the Baseball World Series, and so we really wanted to have an equitable opportunity for Little League softball players to see a professional softball game. And Athletes Unlimited plays their season in Rosemont, Chicago. So for a lot of people, it's tough to get to that game in person. So for many of those girls, it was the first time they'd ever seen a professional softball game.
It was, yes. And especially because we were able to create interactions that even were maybe sometimes more unique than what the MLB Little League Classic and those teams are able to create when they're here. Those are special as well, and they're very unique. But the way we were able to create that atmosphere in different situations with our players and the Athletes Unlimited players was just something that created these moments and these memories that these girls probably had never even dreamed about before because they hadn't been able to really see it in person before.
Yeah, and it was really magical to see those interactions, to see the pro athletes really be able to reconnect with what made them fall in love with the game, and then to see the Little League athletes see their kind of idols and heroes in real life. So some unique interactions, some really great organic moments that I think both parties will carry with them for a long time.
Absolutely, and it was really special for us too, being kind of behind the scenes, but being able to see the opportunity come to life and stepping on that field and seeing all of our Little League players kind of in awe at the same time, which is an amazing experience.
I think especially for women of our age who did have the opportunity to play sports as kids and as young adults, but maybe not as equitable as we're seeing now, and we didn't necessarily feel that people fought for us as hard as we're fighting for these opportunities now. So it was, at least for me, really special, and I think a lot of the other kind of girls and women our age felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I would say growing up in the advent in the years after Title IX passed, I don't know that I knew the difference, but now looking back, I realize the opportunities were limited for me, even though my dad was a coach and he created lots of opportunities with my mom for me. But I, look ahead to what I want for my daughter, and I want to make sure she's got every chance to play whatever it is she wants to, just like I know you do for your daughters.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Liz and I are both moms of girls. Girl mom here with a 16-year-old, 8-year-old, and 5-year-old. And your daughter is here at this game.
She was, yep.
So she got to see, is she a softball player?
She is a softball player in the backyard.
Okay.
Haven't been able to get her to sign up yet, but it doesn't mean we don't love the sport in a casual manner.
Well, you know what, backyard play is being able to play the sport in an informal way is just as exciting. So with that, we end the first inning. Score still 0-0, and we'll see you back in the top of the second. Welcome back to Williamsport for this college softball exhibition game between Army West Point and Penn State. It's the second of our doubleheader as part of the Girls with Game experience. For Penn State, in the top of the second, Nemeth is still on the mound pitching. And leading off for Army West Point, Ashton White, first baseman, steps up to the plate. I'm here with Liz Brown, CMO for Little League, and want to talk a little bit about 2024, which again is the 50th anniversary of girls in the Little League program, and some of the programming we have planned to celebrate 50 years. So, Liz, we've been working together sort of on a plan for 2024, but then also beyond. We have some big goals.
We do, and this initiative is not going to end in 1 year. It's something that we're going to be focused on even after kind of the heightened 50th anniversary ends. But and Nina, you're obviously leading this, so you're really close to some of the programming. But it's everything from quite simply elevating the call to action around more softball programs starting, more registration opportunities for girls to play, to events like this one that really heighten the importance of softball at a facility, frankly, that's known for baseball. And it just shows our commitment holistically to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you make a good point where there's some simple things that we can do to elevate the program. There's some big things that we have planned as well, but just some simple things. And we've made some progress, and we're proud of the progress we made, but we're certainly not ready to stop pushing and to stop growing. So 2024, again, will be a great year for us, but we have some goals to increase not only participation in the program of players, but also participation and representation of female volunteers. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak firsthand because I am a volunteer at my local Little League, which has been an amazing experience. I'm in my 9th year of volunteering, and I've been on the board for that time doing different roles. But to see more women get involved, from league president to player agent to all those different opportunities, we need to see that more holistically in our program, because it just brings a different dynamic to the conversations, and not only to help the league run effectively, but also to create the opportunities for more softball programming for more girls to play when they see women getting involved in leadership roles, no different than in a business setting.
Sure, and we'll have a call to action for a lot of our local leagues to really take a look at particularly coaching, umpiring, all those areas, and find ways, and we'll provide some support and resources for them, but to find ways to ensure that it's a welcoming environment and a great experience for female volunteers in their program.
Yeah, I mean, we have to instill confidence in not only girls to play, but women to volunteer, and what that means is providing resources and information and even language to use, especially when you're trying to recruit girls to play, whether it's baseball or softball.
We are working with some organizations to help us do some research, to take a look at the programming that we have and the experience that girls and women are having in our program, and then to provide some resources, a coaching girls guide, for example, to understand a little bit better what it's like to coach girls, and then also look at even some of our education and training for umpires and for coaches, and is there a way that we should approach that differently that would make it more inviting and better resources for women in our program?
Yeah, and I even think we're looking at and have talked about for the launch in 2024 to have even grant programming available too, because Little League has always supported our local leagues in different ways with grant funding, but specifically committing grant funding to this initiative to help leagues begin a softball program, to have the support they need if they don't have one already, or to grow the program through marketing support and other resources. Is going to be really important.
Sure, and we've seen some growth. So when we look at, and we kind of, I don't want to say we forget about 2020 and 2021, but those were unique years. And so when we look at where we were in 2019 before the pandemic kind of tossed everything around, when we look at 2019 compared to 2023, we saw some growth, some really nice growth in softball.
We have, and I think one of the things that I think we need to not dismiss the impact of, because it's a huge one, is that growth is also contributed by the visibility of our ESPN partnership. And so this year in particular, we had some milestone events happen as part of that relationship, with putting all of our regional championship softball games on linear television, which means you can turn the television on and actually see the game firsthand, to putting our championship game from the World Series in Greenville on ABC. And we saw amazing visibility of people tuning in to watch those games, talking about it, and then even the social media impact that came out of that. So when we think about some of our growth, those are the kind of things that girls seeing themselves on TV can say, oh, I want to sign up next year. Like, I understand that this can be something for me, and I want to partake in it too.
Yeah, no doubt. Welcome back to Williamsport on a chilly October afternoon, early evening. We are here in the second game of our Girls with Game Experience doubleheader, Army West Point and Penn State, in the bottom of the second. Leading off for Penn State here in the bottom of the second, Liana Jones, right fielder. And in the circle for Army West Point is a former Little Leaguer, Olivia Jones. I'm here with Liz Brown. We've been chatting a little bit about our female initiative, Little League's female initiative, and goals for 2024, which is the 50th anniversary of Girls in the Little League program. And Liz, earlier we mentioned that we're both girl moms.
Yes, we are.
And we have daughters that participate in sports, because we... I shouldn't speak for you, but we've talked about how we value the lessons and the opportunities that sports give to girls. So talk a little bit about Emma and just some of her journey in youth sports.
I mean, Emma has this will that I've that's very much mine. So when I think about our family and my husband and I, Emma gets the strong-willedness from me, but it's something that has made her commit to sports in a different way. Something probably that I never really thought about at the age that she is. And so seeing her kind of commit and want to be better and, weather some injuries through sport even at her young age, it's just something that's just fascinating. And it's so important to me that I am not on the sidelines coaching her, even though I was an athlete myself. And it's really important to me that she does spend the time dedicated to getting better and understanding what it means to be a part of a team and really commit to that team mindset. But I try to be the most silent person on the sidelines because she doesn't need to hear me in her ear at all.
That's a really good point, and you've probably heard me tell this story. So my oldest daughter is 16 and is a softball player, and I coached her when she was young and then kind of got to a point where I needed to spend some time with my younger girls, but she plays travel softball, and I joke that this year was kind of my my journey on my youth sports hierarchy of self-actualization. And so I really challenged myself to let her youth sports experience, her softball experience, be hers. And to me, that meant that I kept quiet during the games and that I really was aware of my body language. She's a pitcher, and so when she sees me out of the corner of her eye and can tell that I'm stressed, she takes that on. And so as we traveled this summer, I really tried to make the experience about more than just softball, and I let her do what she loved, but I didn't make it only about softball. And actually, I heard you say something, and we got a little bit of action happening on the field. So a little bunt creates some chaos, and Jones ends up over at third, and Emily Maddock is over at second base. So created some chaos. Error. I think we gave an error to the first. We don't know. So had some action while we were talking about our girls, so wanted to acknowledge that. But so Penn State has a couple runners in scoring position, and we'll see what they can do here. So I worked really hard to make the experience my daughters, and I was saying that you said that you have to be reminded that you only have 18 summers with your kids.
Yeah, yes.
And so this was summer 16 with my daughter, and so it hasn't always been as peaceful as it was this past year. We've had our ups and downs, but when I talk to her, it's a much better experience for her.
Well, that's what matters, is what she got out of it and what she learned from it. And I did say that, but someone told me that too, that we only have 18 summers. And for us Little League folks, the summers are insane as they can be, but making time for our kids, and especially around the sports experience, is important.
Yeah, and I say it was a great experience for her, but it was a good one for me too. I didn't record anything on my phone. I just watched, and I let the experience be hers. I didn't feel the pressure, and as a parent, it was such a great feeling just to watch her do something that she loved and just be able to enjoy it. So that's not always the case. My 8-year-old plays soccer, and I don't feel that. Soccer is a hard sport for me to to watch. I reach that in softball, but soccer, I have some work to do.
Yeah, well, she'll remember you being there as well.
Yeah, so I think you would say the same, but I definitely take my experience as a girl mom into my work, and I think that helps give me the drive to keep pushing forward, because sometimes when you're advocating for some of this work, it's not always easy.
Well, I've had the opportunity to go back and talk with some of the athletes that are in the sport that I played at the college I went to a couple of times over the years, and one of my really good friends in this business calls us business athletes, where you take the mindset that you learned from playing and being an athlete and being on a team and really applying that every day. And I think that's really true. I see us in our daily lives and the way we prioritize and juggle and communicate and collaborate and all those things that make the business and the organization run. I feel like we are business athletes in our own right.
I hadn't heard that, but that's a really smart way to say it. And we talk about, and the research tells us that girls that played sports oftentimes have higher success. I don't know what the statistics are, but when you talk about kind of C-level CEOs in big organizations, a lot of them were athletes. So there are a lot of skills that come out of playing sports that we can carry with us into the business side of our lives.
Yeah, and you could probably relate being in Greenville for 2 weeks. Like, there were many days you were like, all right, we're getting up. It's like preseason again. Let's go. Let's
Very
get ready
much
for
like
the
that.
day.
You get in that mindset and just go. So Amanda Mack on first after 4 balls, so bases loaded for Penn State as Jillian Yoakum steps in. Lefty DP. Got some opportunity here with bases loaded and no outs. Had a little visit from the Army coach, went down to try to settle down her pitcher. We'll see what happens. So Emma, main sport is soccer.
Main sport is soccer, yes.
Tell me about, so what sports did you play?
So, well, I tried a lot of things when I was a kid. I tried soccer, I played softball, a lot of dance and ballet, and then landed in the field hockey world in middle school and ended up just playing that consistently through college.
Do you want Emma to play field hockey?
I've asked her, but again, she's chosen soccer and she's chosen basketball, and she'll probably choose some other things. So I let her pick.
That's important. And I have some friends that have daughters that, and I think as a parent, sometimes it's so hard to understand what's right. So I was just chatting with a friend of mine. Her daughter's a very good soccer player, but she's just one of those really good athletes all around. And so they kind of picked soccer, committed to a pretty high-level team, and then found out volleyball, they weren't going to be able to play volleyball, and maybe not basketball because of all the soccer commitments. And that's tough for a 12-year-old to have to say, I can only do soccer right now.
It is. And I think as parents, we sort of we're in a catch-22 a lot of times. Number one, we want to give our kids balance. We want to let them make their own decisions, but at the same time, we want them to have different experiences. And so, Emma does play soccer pretty consistently throughout the year, but she also has been able to mix in basketball and kind of have some different experiences with different friend groups and through school versus independently. And I mean, she's met a lot of amazing kids and families, and that's been a really upside, but she needs to try other things and really have some different experiences.
Yeah, and I remember, this was a long time ago where there wasn't quite the sports specialization push as there is now, but as a kid, I really looked forward to the end of one season where you're starting to feel a little burnout and then being able to jump into the next sport, because to your point, as you were talking about with Emma, you have different friend groups, different coaches. It's just a different, sometimes, environment. So having that variety and things to adjust to, I think, is really important for kids.
Yeah, and I remember being a kid in high school, and my dad was our track and cross country coach, but I didn't run cross country. I just ran track for him, and my sister was a runner as well. And just having the ability to kind of switch things up and have a different experience for a couple of months and not be still contributing to maybe what ended up being your main sport, but kind of developing a different set of ideas around the sport. So
welcome back. Top of the third inning here in the second game of our doubleheader of the Girls with Game experience. First game was Maryland and Bucknell. We have Army, West Point, and Penn State here in the second game. Liz Brown was with us for the first couple innings. And now, Brian McClintock, Senior Communications Executive for Little League. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Nina. Happy to be here and join us.
Ooh, we got that quick start. I didn't even get to talk about what we were doing.
Not at all.
No, so Nemeth still in the circle. Quick out, 25 for Army. I'm going to get this name wrong. Mia Bonsignore. Bonsignore. I'm sorry for anyone who knows Mia and is listening, and I just messed that up.
My one semester of Italian in college coming out right there.
That's why we keep you around. So we've been talking a lot about some of the female initiative that we've been really prioritizing, and you've led the communications team to create a really great plan for 2024, which is the 50th anniversary of Girls in Little League. So talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I don't think we could be here without sort of the foundation of what we've built over 50 years from that standpoint. And, we're sitting here at the Girls with Game experience, and knowing that this came from a whiteboard to celebrate National Girls, Women in Sports Day 5-6 years ago, and now we're at multiple experiences, giving the game opportunities to grow in new ways, new opportunities. We have a skinned infield here at Lamade Stadium. This is a softball stadium. So we've set a great foundation, and I think our organization continues to shine and really be able to reinforce the importance of the female experience here at Little League, and that is what is so at the heart of our celebration next year. So we are certainly going to be telling those great stories, and look, like all of women's and girls sports, it was not an easy beginning in those 70s and going back in the 50s and 60s, and we need to embrace that. We need to embrace that history, but really embrace how far we've come and how far we're going to go as we continue to provide these equitable opportunities for our female players and volunteers.
Yeah, no doubt. So Bosch just goes down swinging there for the second out of the inning. And Julia Ferris, who is a former Little Leaguer, she and her sister, Olivia, who's on the mound for Army, were former Little Leaguers. So that's exciting to see.
Absolutely. Canal Little League in District 2 in Delaware. So that's Delaware's where we host our Senior League Softball World Series. So I'm sure they have gotten a chance to at least play against or get down and see some of that Senior League Softball World Series action down there in Lower Sussex County in Delaware.
We always love to, when we can, recognize kids that played in the Little League program. So it's nice to see them here on Lamade Stadium. And great, I mean, love seeing sisters still playing together.
Absolutely. And, especially for an amazing institution like Army West Point, those have to be some proud parents. And we're proud to see some Little League grads both make their way to West Point, which is not an easy feat by any means. And to be playing a sport that is so difficult, hard to play at the youngest levels, at the middle levels, and to excel here at the collegiate level is absolutely incredible to see.
Yeah, we're excited that they're here. And with that, she draws a walk, 4 balls, headed down to first.
And you know what? That is the first base runner that Army West Point has had this game. So there you go, Julia.
Love seeing that from a Little Leaguer.
Absolutely.
Get on any way you can.
Yeah, and those are the stories that we're really looking forward to tell and shine a spotlight on. It's not just the people who've gone on. Certainly we've had some amazing female alumni like a Kat Osterman, who is one of the, if not the greatest, certainly.
Ooh, nice backhand. Did you see that?
Yeah, we have. And again, the defense in these games have been fantastic.
Great defense. So with that, that's the third out. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back with Brian McClintock. Welcome back to Williamsport for the second of our doubleheader in the Girls with Game experience college softball game. Army West Point, Penn State softball in an fall exhibition game. So here with Brian McClintock. Brian, tell us what just happened in the stadium during the break.
Yeah, we just had a really special moment here where, we took a moment, obviously Army West Point is here, traveled in from the Hudson Valley, and just able to take a moment to recognize all the veterans in the crowd. Really just nice moment as we think about all those who've served, actively serving from that standpoint, especially all of these ladies who are serving our country and certainly serving up some good softball here. But these are active military out there too. So great to welcome them, and a really nice moment here in between innings.
Yeah. So Olivia Ferris on the mound for Army, former Little Leaguer. We were talking about her sister who batted there at the end of that last inning, but Olivia's bringing some heat.
She is, absolutely. And as I was saying, as we go into really what Girls with Game is celebrating these moments and celebrating these Little Leaguers, and as we go into our 50th anniversary next year, these are the stories that we want to tell. It's not just the Kat Ostermans, but it's the people that have gotten their start in our program, been able to grow our program, to showcase that talent and really show all of our girls what's possible. We want to empower them at the youngest level to be able to see these heroes, to go find their dreams, chase their dreams, and be supported by role models at every level of the way.
Sure. So interesting. We talk about some of our more famous alumni, the Kat Ostermans, and just a number of great women that have gone on to play high-level softball. But through us talking about Girls with Game 50, we found out that some of our employees played Little League in 1974.
In the very, very first years, we we have at least two of our fellow employees, and I know another one played sort of still in the mid to late 70s as well, starting in baseball. Our chief legal operator, Joy McCoy. It's really incredible to see the impact that our programs had, even amongst our employees. And I think back, and I'm a softball brother. I grew up playing Little League, and that was only 10-15 years after we started the Little League program. And my dad was my sister's coach, and Little League was just part of our family, and Little League softball was a part of our family for so many years. So from that standpoint, to be able to celebrate, when you think back, we were just a fledgling softball program in those days, and seeing how far we've come, and seeing my niece play, my sister coach, and my dad still find his way back into the dugout to see his granddaughter have that experience too. So that's really what this is about, as we continue to think about our Girls with Game campaign, our Girls with Game 50 campaign. Certainly it's about where we've been, but it's about where we're going. And, Nina, you're leading some great female initiative programs as we continue to focus on the research and the opportunities to provide our volunteers and our families and our girls with the best experience to really give that equitable opportunity for softball and for baseball. I mean, we're one of the great things that we have on the books here for this summer as we celebrate is our first girls baseball event. So we're looking forward to working with you all to bring that to life here at our complex as well, to really shine a spotlight on those girl baseball players too.
Yeah, no doubt. So Caitlin Morrison drew a leadoff walk there for Penn State, so they have a runner on with Haley Brunson their second up out of the game. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the girls baseball event. So before I do that, Haley finds some grass out there,
Not too far, Chris.
drops one in.
Senator home.
Penn State may get on the board here. So Morrison crosses the plate to give Penn State their first run. That was a nice little double in the hole.
Nice smack to right center, and we went from first to home. So a little hustle around the bases too.
It's got some wheels. So the girls baseball event. So we know that in a lot of cases, girls get their start in baseball because t-ball is often a co-ed sport, and so as a co-ed sport in Little League, it's often baseball, and then they sort of get to a point where they may play baseball for a couple of years, depending on how the league structures, and then maybe they move on to softball or they stay playing baseball. And as we've started to really collect better and richer data, and we've seen girls in the Little League Baseball World Series, so we know that the girls are playing baseball. Girls can play baseball in Little League. It's a co-ed sport. We wanted really to amplify girls in baseball. And what better way to do that than to utilize this beautiful facility and host a girls' baseball event? So tell us, as we all kind of work together, tell us kind of how we are weaving that into Little League Week.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think as we think about our summer and really getting into our World Series and our busiest time, National Little League Week is always the second full week of June. And it's really coming right off the heels of the first Little League game ever played in 1939 was on June 6th. So that following week leading into Father's Day is always National Little League Week. It was declared by President Eisenhower in the 50s, and we've been celebrating it ever since. Well before girls could play from that standpoint. So we will be holding that event right on the heels of our our anniversary. It'll be the 85th year since we've been founded Little League. We'll be celebrating that anniversary really by welcoming girls baseball teams here leading into our National Little League Week celebration. So it'll kick off our summer. That's really typically when we spend so much time supporting and efforts really supporting our local leagues throughout the spring. And when we hit to that mid-June part, we kind of turn our sights and we kind of shift gears and we go, it's tournament season now.
We do.
It's time to switch the logos. It's time to really start thinking about celebrating our World Series tournaments. So we're going to start. The very first tournament that we're going to start with is the girls baseball tournament here. It'll kickstart our summer and we'll end our summer with the Little League Baseball World Series here as well. So, we're hopefully going to have a great atmosphere and turnout for that girls baseball event. To your point, you and Liz were talking about the importance of your daughters and supporting your daughter's choice of what sport to play. And all of us, including our volunteers, need to be also supportive of those girls who decide to play baseball and not go to softball. We support the ones that want to choose to go to softball as well. Softball's a fantastic sport.
Yep.
So is baseball. And every girl should have the opportunity to choose which path they want to play in Little League.
Yeah, that's a good point. We know that we have in Little League some very passionate softball volunteers, and I think some of them may have some concerns that we're taking players away from softball to play baseball by starting to elevate this event, and that's not our intent at all. And really, our rules allow for girls to play both.
They do, and what we want is more girls in our program. We want the girls who want to play both. We want the girls that want to feel comfortable playing baseball. We don't want to turn girls away. We want to open our doors to them. So how do we do that is by providing some opportunity.
Some opportunity, and we also need to do some education.
Absolutely. That education from our volunteers on, I think you and Ashley talked about developing a coaching girls guide that's going to be very, very important. It's a different mindset, different mentality, and it's a lot of growth for our players on through. It'll be great to get to a time where it's not a news story when a girl strikes out 5 batters in the Little League Baseball World Series. I'm ready for that not to be a news story anymore.
We
It's
just
to
want
be
that to
normal.
be
I just want that to
thing.
be a normal thing.
So with that, we have a pitching change for Army. Brianna Izzo steps into the circle. Coach Jen Jen Consul, who joined us
Yes.
on the last episode, is out making a pitching change. So we'll see what Brianna has to offer.
And Penn State has runners at the corners here with this pitching change with one out. So about halfway through the game, and want to make sure that we keep this moving for Army West Point
No
to make sure that we stop any rallies here. So
Yeah.
pitching change and change things up here in the circle.
Yeah, these exhibition games are can go by a little bit different rules. So we know that there's some free substitution. They're batting. I think both teams are batting 10.
Yes,
As
they
we go
are.
through here. So we'll see with runners on the corner, a new pitcher, what Izzo has to offer. So we talked about our girls baseball event. We it's 2024 as we begin to gear up for 2024. Let's talk a little bit about the 50th anniversary of the Little League Softball World Series.
Absolutely, and I think what's really unique and what's going to be great about our World Series events are, certainly Greenville has become such a special place for us. We were saying earlier, as much as Little League Baseball has become synonymous with Williamsport, we really feel like we're getting there with Greenville. That Little League Softball is known as Greenville, and it's such a wonderful environment. So as we celebrate the 50th Little League Softball World Series as part of Girls with Game 50, that's going to be a real tentpole milestone for us. Again, we hope to welcome back Athletes Unlimited. We hope to be able to celebrate some of those early 1974 pioneers who probably didn't know that they were pioneers at the time, but to be able to celebrate them and tell those stories. And I think we have a great opportunity with our Little League Softball World Series, and really all of our softball World Series this year. Our Junior League Softball and Senior League Softball World Series wouldn't exist if we didn't have the Little League Softball World Series too. So there's a great opportunity for us to celebrate at our teenage levels, continue to spotlight that Little League doesn't stop at 12, but really use that Little League Softball World Series, the 50th of that Softball World Series, to reflect on where we were, tell those stories, recognize our host cities. We can't say enough about our wonderful hosts in Portland, that we were at Lamade Stadium with our folks in Portland for 20 years out there. So we certainly want to recognize our history, where we've come from. But again, we've done so much to really advance and change the game in Greenville to be able to bring that to life.
Yeah, no doubt. So a little action on the field as we were chatting there. So runners at second and third, and just a ground ball there to shortstop, and she bobbled it a little bit. And had first runner scored, second one was thrown out at the plate. So down to 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. So
And Penn State plates another runner, so it's 2-0 now as we sort of roll through the bottom of the third. A little bit of a conference here, settle things down, and see how they're going to play it out here with runners on. The runner on second.
Just runner on second.
No, so you can get that conference. Don't forget it.
So we have a great opportunity in Greenville, and
Umpires.
one thing I maybe should have talked a little bit with Liz about this, but our partners have really stepped up
Take 3.
to support some of these female initiatives that we have going as well.
They have. I mean, we have some fantastic official partners, and you look at the work and the commitment that companies like Dick's Sporting Goods and Adidas and Easton, Rawlings have really continued to step up, make these events, really an equitable, fun experience. I think one of the things that we always say about Greenville is it feels like it's fueled by fun. It's led by fun. It's led by the experience, and there's parties and there's athletic appearances, and we really roll out the red carpet for our or purple carpet, as I should say, for our Girls with Game there in Greenville. So I think this year is even going to take on that higher level from that standpoint. You look at the support from our partners, support internally, from our broadcast partners. I know Liz mentioned about ESPN continuing to work with us to really grow the game of softball, broadcasting games, and one of the biggest things that I take away from last year is really having the Little League Softball region games on ESPN, having one full day on ESPN, which 6 Little League Softball region championship games, really was one of the best days for us that we've ever had. I mean, from an activity. The games were great. We had Michelle Smith in the studio covering for us. I mean, a legend, doing some cover in the studio for us. And I think what's exciting for us and for the growth of our softball game, for our volunteers and for our families, is that it was also the most League Finder searches that we had for softball in the history of our League Finder over the past 6 years. So seeing that growth and seeing that that energy around the softball program with that day was really, really refreshing and inspiring as we went into the Little League Softball World Series.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point there. I think we should spend some time talking about is that those League Finder searches. So we are the opportunity to elevate our game during July and August through our partners and the televised games is really to give us exposure so we can ensure that everyone knows about the program and has the opportunity to play. So the fact that after watching those games, we had people going to League Finder to look for a softball league in their area. I mean, that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely, and we want to be that widest funnel. We want that opportunity for parents who are looking for maybe their first activity for their children, whether that's within the baseball or the softball program. We want that to be at Little League, and with that exposure, that gives us that opportunity to showcase that to parents that may not have thought of Little League at first.
Yeah. And so with that we have our third out of the inning, and we're going to break. We're back in Williamsport, top of the fourth inning, and the second of this doubleheader, Girls with Game Experience College Softball Fall Exhibition game. Nina Johnson-Pitt here with Brian McClintock, and we are loosely calling the game, but more so just talking about a lot of the great stuff we're doing here at Little League.
Absolutely. We're hosting a stream of the Girls with Game experience here as we enjoy some amazing Division I college softball action here at a skinned softball Lamade Stadium, while also really talking about how we're going to continue to provide opportunity, grow the game, and support our Girls with Game at every level of play and volunteer and on beyond. So exciting to be here. We've had an amazing day. We started off the day with some clinics and opportunities for our softball players to learn from these collegiate players, and now so many of them are still here in their purple hoodies. I'm rocking one myself as we take into the second half of our last game of our doubleheader here.
Yeah, so purple really is kind of the rallying color for Girls with Game. Maybe, so we Girls with Game, that's the rallying cry. Tell me a little bit about it. Where did that come from?
Girls with Game, we really started celebrating National Girls, Women in Sports Day, and we started with just maybe one social post, and this is maybe 7-8 years ago. And National Girls, Women in Sports Day is a movement by the Women's Sports Foundation to really pick a day. It's typically the first Wednesday in February to rally around and celebrate female opportunities. And the Women's Sports Foundation is an amazing nonprofit headed by Billie Jean King, who founded that organization and continues to be a pioneer in that space. And, so we started celebrating. We wanted to recognize that on the calendar. And each year we felt we could do a little bit more. So one year we said, well, let's do a week. Let's celebrate for a week. And then we said, let's celebrate for a month. And when we said we wanted to celebrate for a month, we realized that we needed to put some structure behind this. So we had 3 members of the communications team come together and sort of say, if we're going to do this and we're going to do this right, as a digital media campaign where we tell stories and showcase quotes and empower our female participants, whether that's volunteers or players, we should have a rallying cry. And the name that they came up with was Girls with Game, and it just stuck. I mean, it just really stuck. We did a full month, and we started in February, and we said, well, Women's History Month is in March, so maybe we need to celebrate National Girls and Women in Sports Day in February, but we really should be celebrating our Girls with Game during Women's History Month in March. So we've moved it to March. We've been doing that for 5 years now, and we'll be able to do that again with the 50th anniversary and really celebrate with some original content that we're working on. Hopefully my colleague here on the headset, Nina Johnson-Pitt, hosting some great conversations with some impactful people. And, we really want to draw the parallels of what was happening in sport, and especially women's sport, along with the history of Little League at the time. So we're looking forward to bringing that to life, and that's really kind of where Girls with Game started. And, now, we've been able to grow this to, we have multiple events. We have this Girls with Game experience. We have the Girls with Game celebration in Greenville as well. We've really been able to rally around this. And I think really what stuck was the first time that we were in front of our volunteers. It was maybe the fall after we did that in March. And they said, okay, well, we love Girls with Game. Where's the merchandise? Where's the flags? Where's the banners? Where's the pins? How do we do more? How do we bring this to our local league? And we're like, okay, like we can do that. We're in. So it's been amazing to see this grow and to see not only our colleagues and our staffers, our board of directors, but also really our volunteers and our players really rally behind it. And I think it comes at a time where in women's sports that women's sports were continuing to get more exposure, a lot of attention, rightfully so, around the opportunity around women's sports, that Girls with Game hit that empowerment moment at the right time. And, you look at the growth of the WNBA over the past few years as well, the National Women's Soccer Team as well. So you think about all of that growth and opportunity around women's sports in the past 5-6 years. Our friends at Athletes Unlimited and what they've been able to do since 2020. And there's just so much momentum as we go forward. So we're up and down, though.
Yeah, that was a quick 3 up, 3 down for Nemeth here in the top of the 4th. So we're going to go to break, and we'll be back in the bottom. Welcome back to Williamsport as we roll into early evening in the second of our doubleheader here at the Girls with Game Experience. Playing some softball on Lamade Stadium. Tori Vidales, welcome back to the booth.
Thank you. Third time's a charm.
It is. You've been killing it, girl. So this is a close game.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Fun one to watch.
So Izzo's still in the circle. Second pitcher of the game here for Army. And a little bit of offense from Penn State. Army hasn't been able to find it, but I think they're putting on a pretty good show for the campers that attended today's clinic.
Yeah, this has been a great game. A lot of hard hit balls as well. Army coming out with some great defensive plays. Penn State as well. The line drive. We had 2 line drives right to the first baseman. I'm like, shout out to my first baseman.
Yeah.
Give a little love to the corners.
Yeah, I love seeing that. I always, I mean, offense is great. It's exciting, but defense is just...
It's exciting to watch.
It is. Love seeing that. Had some, watched a lot of the AU games. Really great defense there. Again, love the home runs.
Incredible
Give
defense.
me some great defense.
Oh, my gosh, man. Some of the defenders at Athletes Unlimited are just next level. Like, sometimes I have to pick my jaw up off the ground and really be like, did that just happen?
Right?
Did I just watch that happen?
Seeing, like, Aaliyah Andrews just get airborne.
Oh, my gosh. She had an incredible catch. I'm not sure if it was in AUX or shorter season or in champ season, but legitimately, she flew so far in the air. I thought she was Superwoman.
It's crazy.
Like, really. It was like
put
magic.
The cape on, right? Just put the cape and she is flying through
girl,
the air.
My body could never.
No doubt, no doubt. So Penn State gets a leadoff single here.
It's big time.
Just punching.
Trying to get some
through.
insurance runs up on the board here.
No doubt. So it's been a big weekend here in Williamsport. During the last couple of innings, we talked with Liz and with Brian just about a lot of the plans we have for our Girls with Game 50 celebration, which is the 50th anniversary of girls playing Little League. And, we have kind of this 1 year to really elevate it. But, another, look at,
She almost had it. Man, that would have been a nice scoop.
That was a good hard hit ball to down the third baseline, and a good backhand, but just wasn't able to hang on over there.
Yeah, again, I mean, we saw this in the game 1 too. You know, when you get a hard hit ball and your defender's not quite there yet, you still have to get your feet ready and adjust when that happens, so that when they do get there, you're already ready to throw and don't feel kind of discombobulated.
Yeah, those are all kind of those doing the little thing as well, right? Like we talked about in the last game when you were on. So it's good to see that. And then we've also talked a lot about recovery, right? When there is a mistake or an error, recovering from that. Some continued action, so a little laid down bunt. Close call over at first.
Very close.
The pole's in my waist, so I can't exactly see whether.
Oh yeah, I do have a little bit of ankle on you, but a very interesting defensive rotation as well. The third baseman stayed back on that bunt, which is not something we typically see. We see the third baseman kind of as the ringleader of all the little small ball bunts, slaps, all of that. So just interesting to see how different teams work on different rotations. And as long as every base is covered and everybody's where they're supposed to be, then whatever rotation works for you works.
Yeah, and sometimes it just depends on who's playing what position on which plan you're going to go with.
And who's running.
Yeah.
It's a big factor as well.
Yeah. So Penn State pushes a couple runners to scoring position. like you said, trying to get some insurance runs. One down here in the bottom of the fourth. Looks like we have some action out in the bullpen. I can't see on the other side, but for Army, a little warm-up going on out there.
It's clear for Penn State.
How do you like our bullpens out there?
I actually really like. I like that you can see what's happening on the field. A lot of times the bullpens are hidden.
Ooh. More offense happening here. Oh. Tell us what happened.
Man, impressive situational hitting there, I will say. Number one is just hard ground ball past a diving second baseman into right center. Of course, the runner at third is going to score easily. Runner at second gets in. But the issue there was the runner at first, the ball was in front of her, and she saw it going past her, and she didn't realize that they were throwing to a cut and not all the way to the plate, so she thought she could take that extra 60 feet, but obviously she was out, so she should have stayed at first, but you win some, you lose some, you know.
So I think
got to be aggressive.
Yeah, no doubt. I think base running, as we talk about that softball knowledge, and I talked a little bit about overcoaching. Sometimes you see in the youth sports. I think base running is one of those things where oftentimes kids at the younger level get overcoached and never really learn how to run the bases.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many camps and just clinics that I've worked, practices, where we go over simple base running and people are taking their eye off the ball, and that's the number one rule as a base runner is your eye is always on the ball. You want to follow the ball and track it and see before it's happening what the ball is going to do. So you should be able to see when a ball is going to drop before it drops, or else you're too late at that point. But that all comes from, reading your outfield. Where are my outfielders at? Where is my shortstop and second baseman? If it's like a little flare, do they have the range to get there? What is the ball doing? Is it going away from the defender? Is it going right to her? And then again, not taking your eyes off the ball. So I think if we learn how to run the bases and keep our eyes on the ball at all times, then the instinct becomes easier to feel, right? You become more in tune with the game rather than waiting for your coach to give you the signal and send you and go, because that takes a little bit of time too.
Yeah.
Processing in your brain, making your body move, right? If you see the ball and you go on your own merit, then do it. I mean, your coach will appreciate that a lot more, taking the initiative than just kind of waiting for them to send you. They love aggressive base runners. So if you're listening to this and you're a base runner, be aggressive, but trust your instincts.
What happened there?
Foul ball.
Oh, foul ball. So I wanted to comment or ask you something that I thought about in the last game. So we came to AUX Media Days to talk about the pro games. And it was funny as we talked to some players and asked them what they were most excited about. Several of your teammates said they were most excited about playing on dirt.
Yeah, we play on turf in Chicago, so it's a little bit different, but got 3, so I'll bring it back to you. We're going to talk about the field when we come back.
But we're going to take a break here for come back at the top of the 5th. We're back here in Williamsport. A couple days ago, we thought it was going to rain, but it turned out to be a beautiful day. So we're here, second game of our doubleheader, Army West Point and Penn State. Here with my good friend and AU athlete, Tori Vidales.
Hey.
So before the break, we were talking about playing on dirt as opposed to playing on turf.
Yes. So the big difference, I think, for us, we grew up playing on dirt, of course. Dirt makes you kind of feel like home. But after being on turf for so long, the hops are different, the spin is different, the speed, it gets on you a lot faster. The slappers can really play such a different game with turf because the ball bounces differently than it would on dirt. So I can't speak for the slappers, but as a defender at first base, you feel a little bit more secure knowing what that ball is going to do, especially coming off from a righty. It's harder to stay on it because the ball is usually going away from you. And on dirt, you really have to play not only that, but you have to play, the divots and the bumps and the rocks and all kinds of crazy things that can randomly happen. But at the end of the day, I think everyone loved it so much because we felt like we were back in days like pre-college, getting 6-7 games a day, like when we were playing in club or select ball. That was our life, we did that every weekend, so it was a little bit nostalgic to be able to come back and play, and especially the crowd. The crowd was such a huge part of it because, they were just as in it as we were, and they were following along with the point system, and the game that I played in ended up going in extra innings, so it was just like nail biter. We were all like, oh my God, because it was 80, 90 points that were
Yeah.
on the line. So it was a ton of points in the crowd. You could just tell, you could feel the energy just seeping off of them. And it gave us a little bit more energy as well.
Yeah, I can't remember did you play the first game or the second
Second game.
So it was the first game was hot.
Hot. I was so happy I was not
Yeah.
in the heat for that one.
It was hot in Greenville, North Carolina in August for sure. On those metal bleachers. So Army draws a leadoff walk here in the top of the fifth. So maybe that'll get them started. A little something going. And Penn State's stuck with Nemeth in the circle. So what's your plan for the off season?
So off season is really long for us, so it's interesting to see how people decide to divide it up. But for me, I usually like to take a couple months off. Oh, we've got a stroke right to the right fielder. Solid hit though.
Outfield coming through.
Yeah, outfield has been pretty impressive today, both games. But for my off season, I like to take a couple months off and just give myself a break. We have pretty much 3 months of straight softball. And when you're not in it every day, it's a lot tougher on your body to recover. So, when we finish, I like to take at least 2 to 3 months off, no softball at all. I'll take about a month to, just kind of decompress, get my sleep schedule back on, get back in a routine, do all of these things. And then recently I've been just walking and doing like Pilates, a lot of low impact stuff for my body. I can feel, shoulders, knees, ankles have gotten a lot different as I've gotten older. So I'm trying to take care of that. And then once 2024 starts up, I'll get really hard back in the cages, start throwing a lot more, doing a lot of long toss, obviously lifting and working more like agility things and like, kind of sprinting, agility, fielding ground balls, a lot of defense. So it's nice because softball season is during that time while I'm training as well. So while I do, broadcasting or color commentating, I can go and practice at these places. And luckily, luckily for me, I have a lot of teammates who are at different colleges in the SEC. So we can kind of like link up and go hit together or go play defense, get a little practice in. And it's nice just to see people that, you play with in their element, in a different element, but also being able to come back and like train together kind of brings you back, feels a little bit more comfortable even when you're not at home.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that we don't talk enough about, even in the youth space, especially girls that are playing travel, how important that rest time is.
Ooh, so big. It's crazy to me when I look back because I was always excited to look forward to the next sport. So for me, especially in high school, whenever I would play softball, I would be so excited to get back to volleyball. And then when I would play a season of volleyball, I'd be so excited to get back to softball. Almost a double play
little
there.
Action there.
Missed ball at first base.
Little high. Got 2 outs here in the top of the fifth. Liz and I were talking a little bit about that, about our girls and when we played, just like that, being able to change that environment, being able to adapt. So moving from one sport to the next sport, different body movements, but also just like different teammates.
Yeah.
And so socially, how important that was for us to have that change.
Yeah, and it's crazy you say like different muscles because when I would go back to volleyball after playing softball, I feel like I could jump out of the roof. I was probably only jumping like 5 inches, but it felt at the time like a very significant jump, and I was hitting the ball really hard.
Yeah.
And same when I would go back to softball, my swing felt natural, but it was because I allowed my brain and my body to rest. Like my body wasn't so concerned about, okay, how do I field a ground ball? Like, after a while you create bad habits by overdoing it. And that happened to me a lot in college because we would hit. I would hit myself into bad mechanics.
Yeah.
So I'd really have to step back and focus, for me specifically, on quality over quantity. And that has been something that, my parents really believed in a long time ago. They were like, hey, if you're going to do it well, instead of wasting time and just doing a million bad ones. I'd rather you do one good bucket of BP than hit 5 and not have any plan.
Yeah, I think I remember one of the before I dive into that, we already have a 3rd out, so we're going to take a little break and come back in the bottom of the 5th. Welcome back. Bottom of the 5th inning, Army West Point, Penn State.
Here we go.
In a fall exhibition game. Nina Johnson Pitt here with Tori Vidales. Izzo still in the circle for Army. And leading off for Penn State here in the bottom of the 5th, Haley Brunson. We were talking before the break a little bit about the importance of the rest time and the recovery time, and how, I think especially in travel sports, sometimes there's this push for girls to work year round. And I've been fortunate to have some really good and smart people who coach my daughter. And so her hitting coach is so Rachel Folden, who is an All-American at Marshall and is now in the Cubs coaching system.
Yeah.
Ended up being a connection through Little League. And so she does hitting lessons with my daughter. And she, from the very start, was like, dude, you have got to take time off. Like there's a time when you should not pick up a ball or a bat.
Absolutely. We had when I was in high school, we had mandatory, like after we finished our very last tournament, anybody that was coming back, obviously, we had mandatory no touch rules, like no balls for nothing. You couldn't pitch, you couldn't hit, you couldn't do defense. And I always found that I came back refreshed and wanting to be there and wanting to practice. Whereas sometimes, you get into the brunt of season and you're like, oh, again, we're doing the same thing again and again. It's like, yeah, that's what this game is. You just got to do it over and over and over again until you can't mess it up. But a lot of people reward that grind culture of, okay, I'm going to drill my kids into the ground and give them things to do 24/7. Well, let's let them be kids first and foremost, because that development starts early. And once we allow them to be themselves, then they can have fun playing the game. Whereas if we keep it to playing the game all the time, they're not going to be having any fun.
Yeah, so Brunson draws a leadoff walk for Penn State. So they try to scratch a few more insurance runs here. So I think it's important what you just said, and parents and coaches in those young divisions need to understand that. To your point, that grind culture where she's got to keep working or she's going to fall behind.
She's 8.
Right.
Like, realistically, what are we working for? Your kid's not going to go play college softball at 9 years old. So let's let them develop. Let's let them be kids. Let them learn the things that you learned as a kid. And that goes for all of us, really, because it's so easy to, get caught up and want these kids to be, prodigies and be so amazing. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be everyone, and that's okay. The beautiful thing about this sport is that no matter what, there's somewhere for you to play.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget that. They think, D1 or bust, and that's not the culture that we want to promote. We want to promote that if you want to play this game, if you love this game, there is somewhere for you. So the whole D1 or bust mentality when it comes to, 9-year-olds, it's like, what are we really pushing to them, and what message are we sending to them that if they're only important if they go D1? And that's not what it is at the end of the day. So you just got to let them have fun and rest their bodies. Like, as an adult, I need rest.
No
so
doubt.
what's to say that, young kids or young women don't need rest as well?
Well, I heard you mention that in your session where you're talking about the importance of taking care of your body. Like, I'm getting old, I got to take care of it. And we have to remember that when they're young, they also have to take care of it.
Yes. So that you don't feel this way.
Yes. Well, strength and conditioning, right? As our athletes, I think high schools aren't putting enough importance on strength and conditioning. Travel coaches are not putting. Those bodies as they're young and they develop those proper mechanics, just taking care and taking that time off to just develop that strength instead of just the same motions that they're doing, whether they're a pitcher or just hitting. Continue to build up strength is really, I think, the importance is underestimated.
Yeah, and not even just strength, but the important that I've realized now, flexibility, mobility, those two have been such a game changer for me, and I wish I would have really paid attention to it a lot when I was younger, because, maybe I would feel the same way I felt maybe when I was 20 now. So I think if you start at an early age, you never hit that point of oh my gosh, my back or my hips. Eventually you will, but the earlier you stretch, the longer you can put that feeling off, which obviously that's one of those things where you don't know until you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think kids are sitting so much more now. With you talk about agility, and I know last night at the clinic during the hitting portion, one of the coaches actually coaching first for Penn State right now, and she talked about that her start was in I'm going to get her major wrong, but strength and conditioning. So she was really taking the coaches through some movements and just hinging, like how important it is for kids to be able to hinge.
Right.
And because they're often sitting, they're just not getting a lot of those movements. Got a little action on the field right now.
Penn State putting it on them. Coming through.
Scrape another one
Bridget
across
Nemeth coming through with a big RBI.
Yep. Runners on first and second now. What inning are we in here, Tori? Bottom of the fifth?
Yes, we are. Bottom of 5.
Penn State has put up 2 runs in the last couple. The scoreboard had to move on to this is normally a 6-inning scoreboard, and so we have 7 innings in.
Hey, you
in
make it
college
work. You gotta make
softball,
it work.
So we had to move on to the next one, and so we can't see the first 4 up there. So that movement piece is important for kids as we talk about that, but then also, and we talked a little bit about this in the coaches clinic last night, and you talked about it in your session today, but the mental component as well, and how important it is for not only to develop physically, but to for athletes, even young athletes, to kind of have the right mental approach when it comes to the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it can be worked on early, but it has to have the help of an adult.
Yep.
You have to have someone there to guide you and talk you through these situations. Like for me, that was my parents. I talked to my parents about things that I was feeling or going through. Some people don't feel comfortable talking to their parents. Talk to your coach, talk to whoever it is, your high school coach, a teacher. There's so many adults in your life that you can talk to and kind of lean on for guidance. But specifically when you're talking about softball, another great resource is just your teammates.
Yeah.
I think once you understand that all of your teammates have felt the same emotions that you have at one point or another, it makes it a lot easier to digest and realize, everyone feels this way. So maybe it's not me. Maybe it's, just something that I need to work through. And I didn't even learn that until a later age. Like, I'm talking to some pros. I'm like, you felt that way? They're like, yeah, dude, why wouldn't I feel that way? I'm like, wow, like, why am I under the impression that no pros are feeling the same way I do?
Oh, let's talk about that play. So what set that up? So we had runners on the corners.
Yep, runners at first and third, a little fly ball, not quite a little dinker, but
a little dinker over third base, but like a little bit beyond.
yeah, it was pretty much in left field. But again,
Yeah.
we talked about these big outfields. It's a
Yeah.
lot of room for the outfielders to
Yeah.
cover. So it just drops in, sneaks in fair, and the runner at second base obviously held up. She thought it was going to get caught. But again, we talk about those instincts.
Yeah, watching.
You got to
once
see
you
that
it's
the
gonna
shortstop
drop.
was far, the left
Yeah.
fielder was pretty far. You kind of inch out as they go and then play it from there. But she was just a little bit too close to first base, and there was that force.
Got thrown out there at second. So
Just barely, too.
Yeah, it was close. 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth. May see a little slap in action here. Something I wasn't a lefty, but if I was a lefty, I definitely would have wanted to slap.
My dad almost turned me around to the left side, and the day that was my last day as a righty, I hit a ball off of a 225 fence, like off the top as a 12-year-old. And he was like, "Oh, never mind. We're not
kidding.
gonna switch anymore. We're gonna stay on the right side."
You just stay right
Thankfully, because I would have had a terrible professional career. Lost that speed real quick.
Yeah, that speed is something. That's what I love about the game of softball is the speed. It's just one of those games that you can succeed with so many different skills and talents in the game. Variety of different people that can succeed in this game. If we talk about, so Emily Maddock here is who steps up to the plate at a tall 5 feet flat. Got runner on. I can't. Brian, help me. Just runner on second. I can't see first. Could someone cut down that pole?
Get right on it. Send in the permit.
Cut that down. Cut it down. So we're going to continue to connect with Athletes Unlimited,
Yes, please do.
hoping to, like we talked about, expand those pro games in Greenville. Would love to be able to have you stay a little bit longer.
I know. Hopefully, you guys
time.
we'll hopefully we'll run into each other next summer in Greenville. Fingers crossed.
That would be ideal. So Maddock draws a walk. Runners on first and second here for Penn State. 2 outs in the bottom of the fifth. It's been an exciting weekend for softball here in Williamsport. Something that a couple years ago I didn't really anticipate saying when I worked for Little League, but the fact that we're sitting here on Lamade Stadium with a skinned infield for this event is is progress, and it's progress that we'll continue to take. So field looks great. Field looks great as a softball field. We talked about it earlier, though. It's a deep outfield.
It is very deep. I don't think it's crazy when you put it in perspective of like middle school boys play here. But the ball goes a lot further, right?
Yeah.
It's like a little BB. It flies through the air. But it's cool to see softball played on this field. I think it makes it a little bit more interesting, gives the outfield a little bit more action. Not as many home runs as you would normally see. But I think 225 is a very good distance. Like, I don't think it's too big, too small. Obviously not too small, but just enough to where it gives you enough to show off your game and drop a couple hits in there, maybe that you wouldn't on a smaller field. But it just kind of opens the game up, opens up the opportunity, and opens up for the athleticism to really come out and play.
Yeah. And we talked about, I was an outfielder, and so I'm always celebrating big plays for the outfielders. And I think in the youth space especially, we don't spend enough time developing outfielders.
Right. Well, everybody thinks outfield is leftover, and that's definitely not the case.
No. So with that, that's 3 outs here in the bottom of the 5th. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back at the top of the 6th. Thanks, Tori, for being here.
Of course. Thanks
for
Little
being
League.
here all weekend, and we
Girls
look
with
forward
Game.
to working with you.
Let's go. Can't wait.
let's
AU and
go.
Little League takes over the world.
Love it. Welcome back to Williamsport on this beautiful October afternoon where we are playing softball on Lamade Stadium. Penn State, Army West Point, in the second of our doubleheader at the Girls with Game Experience. College softball fall exhibition games. Penn State, Nemeth on the mound. Going to throw maybe a complete game here. Been going strong. Hasn't given up any runs. And I am joined back in the booth. You were here for the first game, and you're going to close us out. Ashley Miller, the Director of Softball Development. Thanks for jumping back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're back.
We are back.
We are back in action.
We should tell people that we are kind of a package deal and a dynamic duo.
We absolutely are. You don't get one of us without the other.
We've worked together for a long time, and in a couple of different capacities. So it's good to be back here with you to close out the Girls with the Game Experience. So I thought it would be really great to close out with you because you've worked really hard to really champion this event and brought a lot of people along with you. But how are you feeling?
Feeling amazing. You know, this type of event, it takes a lot of hands. A lot of people to absolutely buy in and just say, you know, let's do this together as a team. Let's make this incredible event happen. And everyone has done a little bit of everything today, which has been amazing to see. And it's just been great to see this event grow and super excited about the outcome of today.
So I just mentioned, so we have a great game, but the first game was great, this game is great. Just mentioned that Nemeth hasn't given up any runs, but she's actually, I shouldn't mention it, but I'm going to. I'm not even going to say it. Just going to allude to what I was going to say on this. So I know it's a fall exhibition game, but it's still a big deal. So there's something going right now for Nemeth.
Or something that's not going.
Something that's not going. Something that's not going. Now, she's throwing a great game.
She's throwing great. Yes, she is.
So second year of the Girls with the Game Experience. What does it look like next year?
It's a great question. We, as staff, are already like, what can we do next? What are we going to do next year? I think the 4 teams, the college teams, them being here all day has been great. We got to see 4 different types of personalities with each team, so that's always really fun to get different personalities from each team. So I think next year we'll see if we want to do something very similar. We want to do something a little bit different. The 2-day event this year was really nice, flowed nicely with the coaches clinics kicking us off on Friday evening. So I think we'll look to do all that again, but just see if we want to add new teams, same teams. We'll see what happens.
Is this the right time of year to do it?
I think so. So this year's a little bit later. This is actually all of the college teams' last fall ball game.
Oh, okay.
But I think we might kick it off maybe early October next year. Just to hopefully get a little bit warmer weather.
Yeah, it was.
But we lucked out.
The forecast was not
lucked
looking great earlier in the week, but had a little bit of rain yesterday, so we moved the coaches clinic inside, which worked out because we have Little League has a great facility, a batting cage facility, so that was inside. And fortunately, everything cleared up today. It was a little chilly when the sun came out. It was nice, but got a little bit chilly.
I see a couple blankets right now in the stands.
Feels like football weather, huh?
Yes, it does.
Nemeth sits down another batter here, so we got 2 outs. in the top of the 6th. Micah Doan steps up to the plate, her first appearance here in the game, junior from Spring Lake, North Carolina. A lot of lefties. Oh, you know what? Switch hitter here.
Oh.
She's listed as a righty, but she's up there as a lefty.
Oh, yeah.
Army doesn't have any lefties. Tori and I were talking about how we wish we could have been slappers.
Oh, my gosh. Wouldn't that have been nice?
Yeah. The other thing that we talked about is how softball is such a great game because there's so many different styles of player that can have success in this game. And so really brings together a lot of different types of athletes coming together on a team to have some success. So love that about this game.
I think that's what makes maybe our game so unique, too, is being able to look at the athlete and how they're all very unique in their own styles and skill set.
So from a softball development perspective, what do you have coming up? You're headed to, tell me about the conference you're headed to.
Yeah. NFCA, National Fast Pitch of Coaches Association, will take place early December. Little League will have a booth inside the exhibition hall. But there we will get to meet with high school coaches, college coaches, other youth coaches, promote our Girls with Game 50, promote this event for next year. But most importantly, just talking to coaches about our program, maybe what Little League programs are in their area, how can they work with us to work with their local programs and see what type of things we could start to work together on with those types of coaches. But really looking forward to that event. Actually, a lot of our coaches that helped out with the clinic today will be in attendance. Some of them are speakers. We actually have one of the coaches, Terry Burdett from Hood College. He will be talking about field maintenance. So that'll be really exciting for us to get to talk with them and see everybody once again in December.
Well, with that, another quick inning. Penn State 3 up, 3 down. Close it out. Take a break. We'll be back. Welcome back to Williamsport, where we're playing softball in Lamade Stadium. Second game in the doubleheader of our Girls with Game Experience College Softball Fall Exhibition. Army West Point, Penn State. We're moving right along. Bottom of the 6th inning. I'm here with Ashley Miller, Director of Softball Development. Leading off for Penn State, first at bat here is Audrey Mendoza, freshman out of California. It's probably a little chilly here for her today.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
We have talked a lot about the softball program and your plans, and you have a big trip coming up.
Yes, we absolutely do.
So one of our focuses in the strategic plan is international growth. And so we have some unique opportunities. So for the first time, so switch gears to baseball for just a minute. So Cuba played in the League Baseball World Series for the first time as part of a partnership we have with them. And we are also looking to bring softball in Cuba on board. So you're headed to Cuba.
We're headed to Cuba pretty soon. Really just looking forward to hearing about their baseball experience and how that community came together to rally behind their team and support their team, and hopes to do the same exact thing that we did on baseball on the softball side. So we're going to go there, meet with some folks to see how we can bring our Little League softball program to communities.
Okay. Who else is on your radar internationally?
Well, I mean, you look at Japan, obviously, you know, we have a big presence there for baseball, and we have a really big presence in the sport of softball alone in Japan. So I think that's going to be next on our docket to start to find ways to get our program in that community, because it's a no-brainer for us. We're already there baseball. We know softball is so prominent there, so let's do it.
Yeah. And, you know, we really kind of took our focus off of international growth because of the couple years of COVID, but we had some momentum before that, but you know, now we've kind of gotten through COVID and we're jumping back into that international growth. We have got a little poke, burning the center fielder there. Gonna watch what happens here for a second.
She's
taking 30. Ooh,
Got her.
tried to stretch that double into a triple. That was a dart.
That was a great play.
We've been talking about the outfielders in this game.
Yes.
Here we go.
They're great.
And with that,
That was three.
That ends That
was a quick
We're
three.
gonna take a break and we'll be back. Welcome back to Williamsport. We are rolling right along in the second game of our doubleheader here at the Girls with Game Experience. College softball fall exhibition games, Penn State, Army West Point. It's been a great game. I'm here with Ashley Miller, our Director of Softball Development. So we're ready to close this out.
We were ready. What a day. It has been a fantastic day.
So Nemeth is still in the circle for Penn State, and we kind of started to mention this in the last inning, but she's throwing a great game, huh?
Yeah, she's throwing hard. She is she's definitely getting Army hitters off their rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, she may do something pretty cool here. Again, we don't want to mention that because we are superstitious, so we're not gonna say the quiet out loud.
Absolutely. So Nina, I think I need to ask you some questions. Put you in the hot seat.
Oof.
You being the hostess all day.
Yeah, cook me a little bit here.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. So you're in strategy. You're leading the forefront. What have you seen the past couple of years? Maybe a shift in our perspective. Where are we going? What's next for us?
So that's a great question. So I've been with Little League for a little while, and I started my career with Little League in operations, and moved into this strategy position shortly after COVID. Like many other youth sports organizations, Little League experienced started to see a decline in participation, and so we really wanted to be intentional about how we addressed it. So developed a strategic plan for participation, created this position to really have someone oversee that plan, and it was one of those plans that started in 2020 and then promptly shut down along with the rest of the world in COVID. So
Sure.
we took a little bit of a break from that strategic plan to really focus on just getting our leagues back on the field. And we talked about this earlier, but we really had a nice recovery since then. But the focus for us was really simple, and it was to really take things back to being more player-centric. And so as an organization, we decided to be really intentional about the decisions that we made. We really looked at the rules and regulations in the program to identify where we could maybe make implementation of the program easier. And we distilled it down to 3 buckets. And you actually mentioned them earlier because they really resonate across really everything that we do. And it's access, experience, and retention. And when we looked at Little League in particular, in the access portion, we are somewhat of an exclusive program because we have boundaries. There are residency requirements to participate in, and just with that alone, which really is necessary for us to keep the competitive balance at tournament time. So that restriction alone was already losing us players because they didn't have access to
Absolutely.
the program just because they didn't live or attend school within a boundary.
Sure.
So we spent a lot of time looking at how we could potentially open that up, but still keep the integrity of the program and the tournament community-based experience. So when we talk about access, it means a number of different things. There is, again, just having access to a program, the ability to participate by rule. There is the financial component where, we want to ensure that a participation fee doesn't ever keep a child from participating. There's equipment.
Absolutely.
Baseball and softball equipment is expensive. So we really looked at all of that to see how we could make that better and not be a barrier to entry. And then the second piece, which I think has had the largest impact on our growth, is experience.
Yes.
So we audited really all aspects of the program. Where is the experience falling short? How can we help local leagues create more opportunity, more experience? How can we look at our tournaments and make sure that's more equitable? And so we've really elevated our softball programs. We talked a lot about Greenville. And as you mentioned earlier, if we do 1 and 2 right, retention should be easy.
Yes.
So here we are. We are in the top of the 7th inning, 2 outs, 0-2 count. And, he said 0-2. 0-2 count. And it's been a great day in Williamsport. So we're excited to see how this game ends.
Oh.
And it actually ended right there.
Did she
on
go?
on that
Yes,
check
she
swing.
did.
He's going to ring her up on the check swing. And that's the ball game.
We could tell the crew now.
We could tell that. So, gotta go ahead.
That was a no-hitter. Woo!
No hitter.
That's the first here at Lamade
That's
Stadium.
the first softball no hitter.
Collegiate softball. Absolutely. What a game.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and listening to what we have going on at Little League. It was a great Girls with the Game experience. Thanks to Ashley Miller, everybody who joined
Everyone.
the broadcast today. It was a great day in Williamsport.